The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello and welcome to another edition of our program CHW in Action with your host, your friend, Rafael Calderon. I'm your CHW, and as you know, CHW stands for Community Health Worker in Action because I'm always in action in the community of Nashua, Manchester, the whole state of New Hampshire, and the whole New England region. I'm always in action trying to introduce you to new ways to create and live an ideal lifestyle, because when you live an ideal lifestyle, basically you have to be living a healthy lifestyle. I want you to be healthy so you can have a good life, so you can create your ideal lifestyle, because if you're happy, I'm happy. That's what the TV show is about. And as usual, when I meet anyone interesting that knows more than I do about how to create this ideal lifestyle, I want to introduce you to them. So today it is my pleasure to introduce you to my new friend, Karen. Let us welcome her to the show. Karen, how are you?
I am fine, thank you.
Thank you for being
having
with us.
me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You know, I want to know all about you, and I want the audience to know all about you. So can you please tell us who you are, your full name, what you're about, and basically what makes you you?
Okay. My name is Karen Kallie, and I started my professional life as a nurse. Mm-hmm. And I was fortunate enough to work at a major medical center. So as I got used to and learned as much as I felt I could learn in one area, I could move to another area and have the same employer, so I didn't look completely unstable. So I was in nursing for 18 years, and I had started in the operating room because I was fascinated with anatomy and what I thought were quick fixes. Someone has surgery, okay, they're done, they're fixed. But then I started getting much more interested in the emotional part of people and what they were experiencing and how much they must be afraid to come into the operating room and what happened to them after. So that sent me back into more bedside nursing. And during that time, I started to have my own children, and I trained in a form of natural childbirth called Lamaze. And Lamaze was very much steeped in the mind-body connection. Mm-hmm. And so after I saw how it worked for me, I became trained and became an instructor. And then a strange thing started to happen. And that was after, when I would have these reunions, people coming back after they had their babies and talk about postpartum issues. And they started telling me that they used what I taught them in class when they got stuck in an elevator, when they had a gallbladder attack, when they had a heart attack. And then people started asking me, would I help them with their high blood pressure, with their migraines, with their back pain? And I was also training at that time in mind-body medicine, which was only just beginning. Mm-hmm. And at the time, there were a radiation oncologist and a psychologist who developed a program called the Symington Method. They were the Symingtons. And it was a complete mind-body spirit program for cancer people. Mm-hmm. So I did that, and they did a lot of research and found that their people who had been through their training program had double the survival rate of the major medical centers.
Interesting.
So something that they were doing mm-hmm. with this whole mind-body approach was really working to extend people's lives. So then I was in cancer nursing at the time, and I decided I needed to go back to school to do the psychology part of it, to balance myself out. I had done a lot of workshops, a lot of seminars, whatever I could find in mind-body medicine at the time. And I really saw that this stuff was working for people, and then I thought, well, why don't you start teaching it to people while they're still well, so they can stay healthy. And I teamed up with a psychologist because I didn't have my degree yet, and we started teaching an industry. And we had a lot of success with people going off blood pressure medication. their blood sugar would stabilize, they could reduce their insulin. I mean, there were all sorts of physical things that were happening people, plus they were happier.
Nice.
That was the other thing. They were finding more inner peace, more stability, their relationships were improving. So that whole training in mind-body medicine, teaching stress management, all of that was happening at the same time I was transitioning into my degree program. And then after I got out of school, I went into a small group private practice where I wove in the mind-body principles into the therapy I was doing. And people started saying, I've done therapy before and it never worked like this.
Okay.
Never worked so well.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason, I believe, is because you cannot talk yourself healthy. The mind-body are having a conversation at a very deep level, and you have to intervene at the level of that conversation to get change. We can think about and talk about our problems, and we get a certain amount of relief from that. But unless we understand how this conversation is going on and have the tools that get in there and shift things, we're not really going to create total well-being in the way that's easy, that there's an ease to it.
I see what you mean. And see, that's part of what I do as a CHW. I work with people. Well, two things that I want to tell you. First thing is, as I told you outside when you arrived, I'm sorry I didn't shave today. I just came straight from work because I didn't want to miss your meeting because I want to learn a lot from you. That CD, which we'll talk about more in a few minutes, that you gave me, helped me relax. I played it for my girlfriend, who I call my beautiful flower. And I say that because you'll be meeting her, because she liked the CD.
Oh, good.
And I want to get her involved in this stuff. Okay? But basically, I know that what you do works. And I thought, me as a community health worker, so I apologize for not shaving because I came straight from work. So I always shave for my guests. But I want you to know that I wanted really to meet you here and talk to you about this because I know that your CD worked. I want to find something as a CHW that I can, a toolkit, like you said, that I can bring and offer to people. And when I meet people in these classes that I teach, they're called diabetes self-management classes and chronic disease self-management classes. And I teach people within 6 weeks how to basically self-manage. At the end of every class, Karen, people ask, what else is out there? How can I maintain this? Right. And that's why I need people to know what you do.
Well, that's another reason why I developed this system that I use in working with people. And I say system, but it's really a collection of tools because everybody's different. So someone can say, well, I have anxiety, but that doesn't mean that your anxiety is the same as her anxiety.
Right.
Or depression or stress or whatever. It's what's happening with you. And so I do a 4-pronged assessment that takes a look at this person, body, mind, and spirit, and then where can we start to intervene? It's like building a house. You want to make sure that foundation is strong,
right,
so that the rest will line up and be strong. Some people try to start at the roof, and it just doesn't work. So in my toolbox, I have concentrated food as medicine, meditation, a lot of self-help relaxation tools. I use a lot of things that help to reset the nervous system, because we don't understand that this anxiety or the stress I'm feeling has a very real physiological.
Does that have something to do with flight or
fight or flight?
Yes.
Yeah, 95% of illness has a stress component. There's a causative factor, and then there's the stress that the illness itself. Or I say illness, but we can be unbalanced. We can be unbalanced for years and not realize that that's going to erode our health over time. So the earlier that we intervene on the system with good tools, like you said, lifestyle management, then we can perhaps not go to that illness.
Don't wait until it's broken.
Right. So, so a good assessment looking at, well, what is this anxiety or this depression or this stress about for this person? And then teaching them the skills and the tools. Something that you said reminded me that One of the things that occurred to me as I was developing this was you can go to a healer and you feel wonderful in the session, but you walk out the door and you keep doing what you always did.
Yes. That's social determinants of health.
Right.
People attend workshops to get better. People come to my classes to get better because they want to get better.
Right.
Because they go to a doctor, and most doctors are great, but a lot of doctors I've heard, none of them from natural. All natural doctors are good. I just got to say that, a disclaimer. Okay? They say to manage your diabetes, your chronic condition, you have to live a healthy lifestyle. You have to eat better, eat healthier, and basically minimize stress. Have a nice day. And then people leave the doctor's office, and then they have bills, they have situations at home, they have anxiety, they have stress, they have depression. None of those things fit into that. Just go out and do your best.
Right.
You see? So how can we help someone like that?
Well, you mentioned fight flight. We don't realize until we raise our own consciousness that stress, a lot of people talk about stress like it's something out there. Oh, it's just stress. Well, stress is having a very real, something's really happening in here. So this fight, flight, and freeze, those are the three different ways that we respond to stress. And what happens when the stress response is triggered is every system of the body goes on red alert because it can't distinguish between a life-threatening stress and a psychological stress. Now, if you're being chased by a tiger in the jungle, then all of your body systems are preparing you to run, climb the tree, do whatever you need to do to get out of there. So your system is just flooded with all sorts of biochemistry, and every system in the body changes. Once that stressor is passed, the relaxation response kicks in. And everybody has probably had that response, maybe crossing a street and a truck was coming or whatever. They've had a physical stressor and they feel that bottoming out feeling once it's over. That's the system balancing itself. Unfortunately, what we live with is we're late for work, there's too much traffic, the kids are fighting, the toast got burned, will I be able to pay my bills? All sorts of different psychological things that are constantly jerking that stress response on, and that's wearing the system down and out over time. And that's when you become vulnerable to illness.
That's when you fall into that vicious cycle of symptoms.
Right.
Okay.
So you get the symptoms, you go to the doctor, you haven't worn your health down yet, you're just weakening things. The doctor takes a bunch of tests and goes, you're fine.
Yeah, that's what I get.
But what, you need to relax. Okay, I can't be on vacation all the time. Being on vacation is wonderful, but that doesn't help you the rest of the time. So we have to intervene in that stress cycle. This is where I was talking about that mind-body communication. We have to intervene in that cycle to kick up that relaxation response. So this is part of the autonomic nervous system, and one part of it turns everything on, the other turns it all off. So it's like a gas pedal and a brake.
Right.
People get stuck with their foot on the gas pedal, and they're literally, that brake can't come on. They've lost the ability, if they ever had it, to relax. So that's a lot of what my work is about. What is it we need to do to get this system to be able to go into those relaxation spaces, not just because it feels good, but because your body's actually doing healing work and replenishing work while you're doing that relaxation. It's much like sleep. If you get into a good sleep, usually around 3 hours in, you get into a healing state. A lot of people aren't even getting there anymore.
That's true. That is very true.
We have so much coming at us with our devices and the noise around us that we don't get into healthy, refreshing sleep. So how do you get yourself into that place where you can sleep well? So there are a lot of things we do, that I do around that. If people have traumatic pasts, there are things in the nervous system that are put on default, and the person can't figure out why they always react this way. and they try as best they can with using their mental power, or that was in the past. That's gone. As far as your nervous system is concerned, it's not. Your nervous system is always defaulting based on whatever trauma. And it could be a big trauma, or it could be some small, steady drip, 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 drip kind of trauma that's gotten inside you, and now you just sort of automatically, and you may not even realize what it is you're doing. So when I say trauma, I'm really talking a broad umbrella, but there are ways, and some of them can be very quick, others take a little longer, where you're literally erasing that nervous system and putting in strength. Basically, you're building resiliency. And when you're resilient, stuff can happen outside you, but you can maintain your ease, peace, well-being, happiness, joy, communicating well with others.
So basically, if you build a foundation, and even
Right.
if the wind comes and tries to knock you down, you'll stand because you have
That's
a
a
strong
great
foundation.
way to put it.
Okay. You mentioned your practice. So where is it? Tell us about your practice. How can we
My
find it?
practice is in Amherst on Northern Boulevard, and I'm in the office 2 days a week. And as I said, I basically see people and do an individual assessment, and then we decide on a plan of how to work with the various tools I have. There are some people who say, well, I don't want to do that kind of technique. Okay, there's something else we could do. And that's an important part of my work with people. And I'll tell you a funny story that illustrates it. I trained in interactive guided imagery, hypnosis, visualization techniques, all sorts of things like that when I was in this mind-body training period. And one of the things I learned very quickly, I used to sit there and somebody would say, well, here's my issue and this is where I'd like to go. And I'd think, oh, I know. It took me about 3 times to realize, I don't know. I've got the guidebook. I can set the situation up, but that person has to access their own wisdom. So when I'm using these inner techniques, it's a matter of guiding a person to find that inner resource, because that's when they own it, and that's when it's the best thing for them. Because I may not know what that best thing for them is, but they do. It's just that they don't know how to find it. So I combine all of these things in developing a plan that's always open to revision. If a person says, this really isn't working, let's try something different.
That's very nice. When we met, we talked about that clientele that I work with. It's mainly Spanish, in the Spanish community. I do work with everybody, but because, actually said not but, however, we have in my opinion, I feel that the Latin community, the Hispanic community is underserved in healthcare.
Right.
And not because, in my opinion, hospitals or healthcare organizations do not want to help. There's a lack of a bridge. It's the language barrier. It's too big. And what we have a lot, and I used to be one, so I love all medical interpreters. But what we have is medical interpreters whose job is to interpret every word that is said. They cannot advocate for the patient. So a lot of patients do not always say all that they have to say with the doctor. And when I was a medical interpreter, I saw that. And there was nothing I could do except wait until the end of the appointment and then say, well, you wanted me to say this, you want me to say that, and the person will say, well, maybe next time. Well, next time is the next appointment, a month or 2. Then they have social determinants of health issues. They don't have access to transportation. They have to work. What have you? Now they miss that appointment. Now things get worse. You see, that's why I became a CHW. So in my work as a CHW, and I am now working with Alpha Home Care Solutions where we met, and we usually help people that are homebound, that need help with daily living activities. So my question for you is, how can you and I work together so when I come across someone who is in need of more than just physical help, and when my social determinants of health services cannot meet them, because I can talk to anyone that can come to my classes. I can teach them how to live a healthier lifestyle, and I have testimonies of that. However, when it comes to the mental side of things, to mental health issues, to issues of energy, inner energy, I have a lot to learn. That's why I need people like you and friends like you that I can come to. So how do you see you and I working together to bring what you do out to the community?
Well, one of the things that I did along the way, I'm still doing, is to make recordings, because someone's with me once a week, and we'll do the techniques. And one time, as I said, isn't going to be enough to reset this. They need that continued reinforcement. I can't go home with people. So I've developed the recordings so that people can repeat the techniques at home. I've also written a book which helps people understand the inner energies and gives them tools to be able to explore that.
We need the name of the book and how to access the recordings.
Okay.
Just so you know, I want everybody to know what you do because I think it's great.
Okay.
Okay.
It's embodying the wisdom of the chakras. Forever Alive, Awake, Aware, Alive, embodying the wisdom of the chakras. And it is on Amazon. It's also on my website if people go.
And your website is?
KarenKallie.com.
Thank you.
So another thing that I do is teach workshops. And I really love to teach workshops to health professionals, because I feel like I learned these things over time and I collected things as I went along. So I can give someone the toolbox in seminars, in workshops, so that they can then take it and use it in the way that it works for them. So I think that may be one of the ways that I can help, is to work with the people who work with your people. And we had talked about getting some of the material translated into Spanish. That could be helpful.
Definitely.
Well.
I want to do that. Okay. Now, you mentioned workshops, and you have one coming up. How do you get the word out about your workshops?
If people go on my website and go on to the seminar page, they're announced there, and also on Facebook. Facebook, I'm under Living Energy Works.
Okay. Now, I've met a lot of people that come across great information in the healthcare system. They see things that can help people, or processes that can help people faster, heal people faster, but they either concentrate on their careers or they go somewhere else. But you decided to use that to help others. So where did that passion come from? What drives you?
You know, it's simple and it's complicated. I do not remember a time when I did not want to be a nurse. I think I just was born into that. It was what I always wanted to be. To me, it was a nurse, in quotes, because it's about being a healer. What I really came to understand, I was just doing it, and then it came to me, the concept of it, that I want to alleviate pain. I just have such an empathic response when I see people in pain. I want to know how to alleviate it, whether that pain is physical or psychological. The other thing is the getting to healing, getting to well-being, because we don't need to just drag ourselves around through life and be sad or unhappy or feel like we're always trying to get our arms around an elephant. We can tap an inner flow of wisdom and strength and energy that can have us living a much better life than we might have imagined. So that's what drives me, is that if I can alleviate the pain or help somebody to release some of the old beliefs, perceptions, old storylines that they've had, so that they can be happier, then I want to do that. That brings me joy.
Excellent. And what is your vision for your practice?
Well, it's kind of doing what I'm doing now. Seeing individual clients as well as having the seminars, the workshops, and being able to continue to develop the recorded programs. I work with a musician who writes music just for I do the script and speak it, and then he weaves the music around it. His name is Tony Pace. He's very, very talented human being.
He is, I know, because I listened to your CD and it was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. He really just has that knack. So, and what I said to him when we started this journey, way back in the 90s, is I want the music to match the words, so the music helps to bring people where the words are trying to bring them. And I think he's done that. You know, one of the recordings we have is called Letting Go.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, people always say, oh, surrender, give it up, you let it go. But nobody ever tells you how to do that.
Yes.
And your nervous system won't just do it. If you ever tried to just stop it, you know it doesn't work very well. And I actually developed that CD with multiple ways of getting your nervous system to release while my dad was sick and dying, because I found that tremendous grief, my own stress, was really hard to let go of. So I was learning these other techniques about grief, about loss, about surrender and letting go. And I used them through that time, and man, I'll tell you, it just, it made all the difference. I could really be present with him and not so concerned about me.
That's very nice. See, I think with that we all need some healing at some
Right.
point. And you said something magical. Everyone says, do this, you need to do this, you need to do that, but no one says how.
Right,
No one says how.
right.
And that's why I'm trying so hard to bring people together. I'm back on the journey of bringing people together that can help
Right.
people create an ideal lifestyle. Because I can do this much, but with a network I could do this much.
We're all a piece. And, you know, I want to say about turning concepts into reality. We live in a wonderful time because now neuroscience has shown us how this all works. The brain, the heart, the nervous system. And we know what techniques work and which ones don't. So we can really take advantage of that science to help make ourselves well.
Let's make a deal. Let's invite you to come back to the show so we can talk about that. How,
Okay.
Okay? Because we've run out of time. But it's been a pleasure to have
Well,
you.
thank you for having me.
Hey, it's my pleasure. You got to come back.
Okay,
You got
I
to
will.
come back.
I
Okay?
will.
And thank you very much. Thank you for, oops, there we go. Thank you very much for giving us some of your time. As you can see, this lady is a true healer. Check out her website. Get her book. I'm going to get her book. Check out her book. I listened to that CD. The recordings really work. So let's give it a try. If you need healing in your life, you have one more person that can help you. If you need to contact, you have her information. And at the end of this TV show, you have my contact information too. I can put you two together because that's what I do. I try to bring people together so that we can all live a healthier lifestyle. And with that, I thank you for your time. God bless you. Good evening.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.